Imagine for a moment that your mind isn't just a tool. It's a weapon so sharp, so precise, that it can slice through any skill, any subject, any challenge in record time. That's exactly what CIA operatives are trained to do. Rewire their thinking so they can absorb new information faster than most people can even comprehend it. And here's the shocking truth. This isn't science fiction. This is a real, methodical way of conditioning your brain to work like a high-level intelligence officer. Most people think learning faster means working harder or putting in more hours. That's the lie you've been fed since school. The reality? The most effective learners, spies, elite performers, top-level negotiators, don't brute force their way to knowledge. They brainwash themselves systematically to think, focus, and retain information at a level that feels almost unfair. They've learned how to hijack their own mental operating systems, so learning becomes effortless, like running a program in the background that does all the work for them. Now here's where it gets interesting. This isn't about some mystical secret or expensive gadget. This is about psychological triggers, behavioral loops, and covert mental rewiring, the same principles used by intelligence agencies to train their recruits under insane time constraints. They don't try to learn. They create conditions where learning is automatic, where their brain literally craves new data, processes it instantly, and locks it into long-term memory without struggle. And the most dangerous part? You can do this too. In fact, you're about to see how easy it is to flip the same mental switches these operatives use. Because your brain, right now, is a blank canvas of habits and triggers. The only reason you're not already learning like a CIA spy is because you've been programmed by society to think learning equals effort. But if you unlearn that lie and apply the simple neurohacks I'm about to share, you'll feel like you've been given a cheat code to reality. Learning in half the time, with less stress, and almost no friction. So get ready. By the end of this, your old way of learning will feel primitive. You'll never approach a book, skill, or subject the same way again. This is not motivation. This is not a study tip. This is the reprogramming of your mental software. The easy mode neurohack the CIA would rather you never knew about. Step 1. The identity flip. Stop acting like a learner and start acting like an operative. The first thing intelligence agencies do with recruits isn't teaching them a skill, it's breaking their identity. They know that people learn according to who they believe they are. If you identify as a student or learner, you'll act like someone trying. If you identify as an operative, you'll act like someone executing a mission. This simple mental shift switches your brain from passive mode to active mode. Before you even touch a book, a video, or a skill, tell yourself, this is not study. This is mission-critical intelligence gathering. That one belief primes your brain to absorb and retain information under high stakes. Step 2. The covert environment. Manipulate your triggers. CIA trainees don't learn in random, distracting places. They learn in designed environments. Why? Because your brain doesn't just store information, it stores the context around it. This means if you want information to stick, you have to control your surroundings. Pick a single, repeatable environment, a room, a corner, even a chair, and use it only for high-speed learning. Every time you sit there, your brain will anchor focus, memory, and speed to that location. Within days, simply entering that spot will automatically switch your brain into operative mode. This is Pavlov's conditioning, except you're conditioning yourself. Step 3. The chunk and conquer method. Break the enemy into pieces. Spies are trained to decode complex systems by breaking them into chunks. They don't memorize thousands of details. They find the patterns. If you want to learn like a spy, stop trying to absorb an ocean of facts. Instead, group information into 3 to 5 core patterns. Your brain is wired to hold chunks far better than scattered bits. When you do this, learning a 300-page book can feel like decoding 5 simple codes instead of memorizing endless data. Step 4. the shadow repetition, disguised review. Most people cram. Spies never cram, they rehearse. But they do it covertly. Instead of sitting and drilling information, they sneak it into daily life. Flash phrases on their phone lock screen, rehearse concepts in the shower, explain the skill to a friend as if it's a secret briefing. This builds automatic recall. You're not studying anymore, you're living the knowledge. This covert repetition makes it impossible for your brain to forget. Step 5. Neurochemical hijacking, the dopamine loop. The CIA doesn't just train for discipline, they train for addiction. They make learning feel rewarding. Every time you complete a small learning chunk, you give yourself a quick hit of dopamine. A check mark, a sip of something you like, a victory pose. This isn't childish, it's hacking your reward system. When your brain links new knowledge with pleasure, it stops resisting and starts craving it. That's how operatives learn massive amounts of information without burnout. Step 6. The red team test. Prove it or lose it. Finally, intelligence training always ends with pressure testing. You never truly know a skill until you've been forced to use it under stress. This is why, after each learning session, you should immediately test yourself, teach someone else, write a summary, or solve a real-world problem with it. When you pressure test information, it moves from short-term memory into long-term, unshakable recall. This system might sound intense, but it's actually easy mode once you start. The hardest part of learning is friction, the mental drag of trying to push information into your brain. When you shift your identity, control your triggers, chunk information, disguise repetition, hack your dopamine, and test under stress, you remove friction entirely. Your brain stops working against you and starts working for you. At this point, you're not just studying anymore. You're running a covert mental program. You're brainwashing yourself, the same way a spy would, to absorb and retain anything faster, easier, and permanently. Now here's the real question. If you've just seen how easy it actually is to brainwash your own mind, to learn like a CIA operative, what's stopping you? Because, let's be honest, most people won't even try this. They'll nod, agree, maybe even feel inspired for a few minutes, and then go right back to their old, slow, frustrating way of learning. And yet, a handful of people, the ones who actually test this, will start learning faster than they ever imagined. They'll pick up new skills in days instead of months, and it will feel almost unfair. So here's what I want to know. Do you think this kind of spy-style brainwashing is genius or dangerous? Should ordinary people even have access to these kinds of neurohacks? Or should they stay locked away in elite training programs? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me honestly, if you had this ability, what's the first thing you would reprogram your brain to learn? Would you master a language? Decode a complex skill? Or would you use it for something darker? I'm curious to see how many of you think this is the future of learning, and how many of you are too afraid to even try.